What's going on, everybody? It's Moonshine, the Hillbilly Hellraiser. Dan, how you doing? I figured I'd pop on real quick and do a little wrestling talk with you. Uh, Follow up on a couple of stories I covered already. There's a couple of updates that came out of them, and just shoot the breeze about some of the other fun and notable stuff that's happening in the world of wrestling. So first off, apparently on the 18th of September, Raja Jackson, that's Quentin Jackson's son, the guy who was very famously beat up a pro wrestler in the ring legit when they were supposed to be doing some sort of run-in angle during the show. It made a lot of news. I mean, really, a lot of people were talking about it. It made its way outside of the pro wrestling world. It was making news on like every major station and every major regional outlet in the country, and the world was talking about it. But I mean, you saw I did a video on it. A lot of people seemed to react to it. But he apparently got arrested on felony charges. Didn't say what charges exactly. He's being held on a $50,000 bond in LA County, I believe. And beyond that, I haven't heard anything else about it. Now, I mean, that's great. Guy deserved to go to jail. I mean, he pretty much premeditated and telegraphed that he was going to try to kill somebody on camera. And it's just gross and disgusting. And whatever you think of pro wrestling and your thoughts on that, I mean, like I said, the long and short of it, you could watch my full video on it if you want, but the long and short of it is, in wrestling, trust is a crucial thing that you have. You trust your opponent with your body, you trust yours with your opponents, and when that trust is compromised by somebody who's not only doesn't get it, but they're just a straight up idiot anyway, and some sort of like half-assed mark for themselves, and just have like a either degenerate or criminal mindset, and they go in there and they take advantage. It's gross, and it's not something that should be happening in the pro wrestling business, but it does. And unfortunately, I could go on a whole rant about celebrities in wrestling, how to treat them, how to deal with them, so on and so forth. I mean, we've seen plenty of stories recently making news in the wrestling world about celebrities getting involved and not doing business the right way because they're idiots and they're not trained or taught to respect or appreciate the business like they ought to. But it's not surprising because just like in pretty much everything, every industry or corner of the world, people nowadays don't appreciate or respect things. So why do you expect wrestling to be any different? But anyhow, so he's sitting in a jail cell right now, which is where he belongs. We'll see how that turns out. He might plea down to something else or whatever the case might be. This might be the extent or whatever he gets. This might go on as however long he stays in there. Might be time served once he finally gets an actual sentence. But we'll see how that shakes out. I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in the California penal system and the California judiciary, but we'll see what happens. It might have made such a stir, might have caused such a stir with so many people that they may not have a choice in the matter as far as not trying to treat him with kid gloves or what have you, or treat him like he's a celebrity's kid. So, but anyhow, we'll see what happens. Next up, this story made news last week, and I didn't cover it just because I honestly forgot. And it caused a little bit of a stir with people, but I don't know. I'm kind of a divided mind on this one. So the Royal Kingdom of Saudi Arabia bought themselves WrestleMania. It was announced on the 12th of September by WWE. It got leaked a couple days early by the council, division, whatever the hell they have over there. The people that handle all the sports and arts and all that sort of thing. The Saudi royal family. I mean, that's who runs Saudi Arabia, is the royal family. They had announced that they were going to get WrestleMania 43, and then WWE on the 12th announced that in Jeddah, which is a city in Saudi Arabia, they're going to have WrestleMania. Now, some people were all pissed off about it because of it was the day after September 11th, the 24th anniversary. A lot of people thinking about, well, 18 of the 19 hijackers were all Saudis, and now this company that's supposed to represent like this, it's kind of like a major piece of Americana, has basically been bought out. So I know some people feel that way about it. I know other people just don't like with the whole was it Khashoggi, the journalist that got killed over there. He got lured back in the country, and then he mysteriously vanished and probably got murdered or whatever the case was. I think that's what the story was there, and that made news at the time. A lot of people were real up in arms about that. I don't know the full details on it, so I'm not going to really comment beyond just mentioning it as a reason that people really aren't fans of the government or the country over there. I know a lot of people don't like him just because it's straight up theocracy, and I get that totally. You know, I wouldn't want to live under a theocracy, so I totally can agree with people on that one. But as far as them buying WrestleMania, it kind of sucks a little bit. I mean, it's one of those things where it wouldn't have been the first place if I was going international with WrestleMania. That wouldn't have been my first choice, certainly. But when you figure that, from what I gathered, the show was in Vegas last year, and Las Vegas paid $5 million to get WrestleMania last year. The Saudis are paying $250 million. So it's one of those things where it's like, at this point, the company that's running it, TKO, Ari Emanuel, I mean, the guy's pretty much, he was the inspiration for the character Ari Gold in the show Entourage, if you ever used to watch that back in the day on HBO. Just a ruthless agent for celebrities, and that's kind of how he is. And if you know anything about the history of the Emanuel family with his brothers Zeke and Rom, they're all just, I don't know, I'm not a fan. They're just shitbird people, and their ties to politics and just being, I mean, true influencers in the truest sense of the word, and I don't consider that a good thing. I'm not a fan. So the fact that one of them is basically in charge of one of the things in the biggest pro wrestling company in the world, and one of the things that, you know, it's pretty much the focal point and centerpiece of one of the few joys in life that I have. It's really not. I don't enjoy it. I haven't seen much good come out of them running the thing. I mean, there's lots of rumors that probably what's going to end up happening one day is they're either going to sell the company back to Vince McMahon, and he might sell it to the Saudis, or the Saudis might just buy the company outright, and that would really stink. I mean, that would be just like, that'd be the end of wrestling, in my opinion, because I don't see where that would be any good. But yeah, I would say it's more of a negative than a positive, but we'll see. I mean, I'm not going to pay to watch WrestleMania. I'm not going to pay to watch a bunch of people sit there and kind of half-ass not be into it, but, you know, I don't know. It's just, I'm sure there's something to be said about the decadence of people with money to burn like that, and they're basically, oh, we'll just buy pro wrestling. You know, we'll have them send the biggest event in the history of the business. We'll pay them ungodly sums of money to come here and give us a WrestleMania over anybody else. Like, I would have chose England. I might have even chose Mexico. I mean, they're partnered with AAA now. I might have done that first, but you know, it is what it is. So it's just another brick in the wall that's dividing old school wrestling fans from the modern era. And next up, another story that I covered previously. There was a little bit of fallout from the Ronda Rousey, her comments that she made, her jackassery on full display for everybody to see, as far as her complete and utter ignorance to the business and her whiny, entitled opinions and attitude So you recall, like if you watch my video, I'll give you a brief recap. She was pissing and moaning about her second run in WWE and some of the people that she had to work with, some of the people that were getting they were getting more attention or a lot more. They were more the focal point of the show. And in her mind, she thought that she should have been, I guess, that she was the bigger star and she's the most legit athlete on the roster. Why aren't they pairing me with this person or pairing me with that person? Even one thing that I forgot to mention, I mentioned this, but she literally got all of her friends' jobs. That's how much they were courting her, which is moronic for the company to do. They gave a bunch of these people jobs. The only one who lasted was Shayna Baszler, and she was never any good, and her friends aren't any good. They all eventually got fired. One's in AEW. That's the other big company in North America. And she just thought, in her mind, in her not understanding the business, that, oh, I'll just get to wrestle my friends all the time. And it's like, and she was pissed because she never got to do that until the bitter end of her career. And it's like, I don't understand how, like, hell, I'd love to have a job and get my friends jobs. I mean, everyone loves to get, would love to get their friends jobs, but at the same time, if they're not any good, then, oh, that's great. You get to play with your friends, but you're ruining the product. You're ruining the business. So it just didn't make any sense. But anyhow, a few people commented on what she said. MJF, who's Maxwell Jacob Friedman in AEW, and he's a smart ass, but he's very funny in very sarcastic sense. These are some of the comments that he made, talking about, oh, shocker that they treated it like a business, because she was talking about having to work with one of the women wrestlers, and the reason being is because she was a merch mover. It's like, well, yeah, duh. And then Teddy Long, referee, former on-air personality, as a commissioner, or not a commissioner, like a GM for the SmackDown brand back in the day. It was a career referee back in the late 70s, 80s, lots of time in the NWA. Then he went to WWF at a certain point, became a manager, then eventually commissioner. Then, now he's a legend, basically. And he was talking about how he met her and thought she was nice, but just figures she doesn't like pro wrestling and doesn't understand it. And that would be followed up here by Bill Apter, who's a wrestling journalist. He's been around forever. Bill Apter's another legend in the business, just a very knowledgeable guy. He's seen it all, and he's been around it all, knows everybody. He's been in the business for decades as a journalist, and I mean, he's saying pretty much the same stuff here, is that she just doesn't get the business. She doesn't understand it. It's not about her, and it's one of those things where it doesn't matter what you did before you came into the industry. If you can't check your ego at the door and you're just a dick right out of the gate, you're not going to last. Unless you're making some company ungodly sums of money, they're not going to put up with you. And she was not making the company. They were spending more to keep her happy than she was making them to justify keeping her happy. And I think that's really what it came down to. And she's an idiot, so she doesn't get that. I mean, she's spoiled. She's obviously a spoiled person, has been catered to her entire life. So, like I said, I could go on a whole rant about it. I do not like this woman. She's obnoxious as the day is long. But yeah, that was an update on that. Then sad news. I was watching the Major Figures podcast, something or other. They had a live event, and they had Raven, Scott Levy, who he's been in the business since the 80s. Used to wrestle as Johnny Polo, Scotty Flamingo, Scotty the Body. Trained at the Monster Factory in Jersey with Larry Sharp. He came up in the business with Bam Bam Bigelow came out of there. He didn't come into the business with King Kong Bundy, but King Kong Bundy came out of the Monster Factory. A ton of other guys whose names are escaping me at the moment. I even think that the major guys, I think they came out of there. Or no, I'm lying. They were Mikey Whipwreck's students. But anyhow, so he's been around forever. he's a ridiculously intelligent guy, both as far as the wrestling business and in general. I mean, he's like Mensa intelligent. That's how smart he is. And he was a producer for the company. He was helping write the program in his early 20s, which is ridiculous. And but then he decided he wanted to start wrestling again, so he went to WCW and he started doing his Scotty the Body gimmick or Scotty Flamingo gimmick there. Then eventually went to ECW, where Paul Heyman reinvented him as Raven, and it was at a time when grunge was starting to take off, so he really leaned into that. He took a piece of his personality with his rough upbringing and just like kind of like his kind of morose take on life, and he amplified it to 1,000, and it really hit. And he had some classic matches there. Most notably with Tommy Dreamer, a lot of their stuff was a whole blood feud that lasted from the beginning to the end of the ECW, the Extreme Championship, not Eastern Championship version. And Tommy never got the win. I don't think until the very end he finally got his win, and that was the idea, is that he could never beat him. And all sorts of characters and personalities branched off from this feud over time. And it really kind of like, it was one of the centerpieces of the ECW program with Paul Heyman's vision for pro wrestling. And yeah, Raven was a big part of it. And then he went to WCW and he had a really good run there. He went to WWF when it got bought out and he had a run there. I mean, he just kind of floundered there, but he was pretty good in their hardcore division because that was tailor-made for him. And then he's all over indies. He does seminars and interviews and stuff like that. But he's a brilliant dude. But I was watching the podcast, and I could kind of see he was holding the microphone, and I could kind of see this, and I said, "Oh no," because I was starting to get visions of Dean's situation. And then about halfway through the podcast, he had mentioned that he apologized for his tremors, but he says I got early onset Parkinson's, which sucks. I mean, it's just that disease. It's terrible, but I gotta believe, like many people who are in contact sports, Muhammad Ali, Dean, now Raven, probably countless others, all the CTE and all the shots to the head and the bumps and all that, it'll take its toll on you. And I think sometimes it just flips something neurologically, and next thing you know, you're having situations like that. You start getting the shakes, and then eventually, your mind starts slipping, and it's sad. So, I'm not gonna say thoughts and prayers for him or anything, but just keep, send some positive vibes out there to him, whatever you believe or don't believe in. It'd be nice to kind of keep it as restrained as possible, because Raven's a brilliant dude, and I've never met the guy, but he seems cool. He seems cool enough. There's a documentary that just came out about him. I can't remember if it's the Raven Effect or something, Nevermore or something like that, but if I think about it, I'll shoot a link in the description about it, or in the comments, do something like that. But it looked fascinating. It's something I'll probably check out when I get a chance, when I can find somewhere to watch it. But yeah, man, that was kind of that sucked a little bit. So I'm gonna try to not end this on a dour note with it being all doom and gloom. I know I'm like doom metal guy here, but at the same time, I don't want to be all negative and just make everybody leave here feeling sad. All 10 of you that are watching, usually I'd say 5, but I feel like my numbers are going up just slightly, which is cool. Thank you, I appreciate it. But very cool. WWE Vault is a channel on YouTube. They show a lot of rare, unreleased footage on there that the WWE has access to. Finally, somebody there has had half a brain and has decided to start showing some of this massive content that they have from this just ridiculous library that they have. It was sidebar. The network was such a kick-ass thing. They had all this content on there. You could watch any match that your heart desired, and it was only getting bigger as they bought more properties from various companies. And I just don't understand why, with all the crap that they're doing, why they didn't just keep the network. I mean, $10 a month, and you get access to pretty much anything your heart desired. It was like, it seemed like a no-brainer, but obviously some of the big brains there thought that was too much or too little. I don't know, but WWE Vault is bringing back Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling, the cartoon series from the '80s. This is fantastic news. This was another part of my childhood. And not that I want to live in a state of arrested development, but it's nice to watch that stuff. And I like animation. I love American animation. I watch a ton of it, and it's just fun to me. I enjoy cartoons. I'm going to unashamedly declare that to anybody and everybody. I enjoy so many different aspects of American animation but that's a whole other story that if anyone ever wants to hear about it, I'll share. But beyond that, I'll just leave it at that. I love that sort of stuff. And this was a very cool show. It only aired for about a year, but it was just cool. You got all those classic 80s, the golden age of wrestling. You have all those guys in there: Hulk, Andre, Roddy Piper, Jimmy Snuka, Sheik and Volkov, Mr. Fuji, Captain Lou, Savage. All those guys, all those dudes from back in the day. I think Fabulous Moolah and Wendy Richter might have even been on there, but yeah, a lot of cool stuff. And it was all like basically the bad guys and the good guys were all paired off in all these wacky adventures, and yeah, it was good stuff. So I'm gonna, when I have time, I'm gonna go check that out. And it seemed like it's gonna be fun to go watch that and relive some of that nostalgia. And then to really kind of end this on a light note, I'm going to share a fun story with you that I've been meaning to for a while now. This is one of the absolute funniest moments that I've ever experienced in the pro wrestling business. I was going to do a whole video on ribs and like funny moments that I've experienced in pro wrestling, but I figure I'll just sprinkle one in here just for the time being and share with you guys. I really wished I had video of this because it would be tremendous to share this with you, but I had my neck fixed. I had my neck surgery, my ACDF surgery I had done back in 2015. So I was recovering from it, and I was on the tail end of my recovery, so I didn't have to wear the cervical collar anymore. I could just kind of walk about as I deemed necessary and do what I needed to do. So I was just hanging out for like 6 weeks with my partner Mike and his partner Brian, and just so you know, not partners like that, but like my old tag partner, and I was staying in his townhouse at the time, and Brian was in one of the rooms. It was very, very cool it was like kind of like a crazy wrestler house. It was very cool to be a part of when I was living there, because it was a fun time. But we're sitting there. Brian had a show. He was at some spot show in, it was like Zephyr Hills, Florida, or Wesley Chapel, Florida, or Plant City, or somewhere north of Tampa is where he was. And we go there, and it's just one of these small shows. So you get a lot of these guys who are still extremely green, like still in wrestling school green. And one of the guys who was wrestling on the card was this guy, Dirk Manning. And Dirk was a nice enough guy from what I remember. His gimmick was like, he was like a trailer park trash kind of looking dude. He had this sweet mullet where it was just gigantic and poofy, and he had the short, business up front and like Rager in the back haircut going on, and he'd wear the jorts, and he really committed to the bit. So he's in the ring working with somebody, and Mike's sitting there, we're sitting next to Brian's dad, and we're all just watching the show, and somebody in the crowd just makes a comment about Joe Dirt. And then as these things do, as you do, then the next person it catches on with the next person, then the next person. Next thing you know, there's Joe Dirt, Joe Dirt, Joe Dirt, Joe Dirt. And I started howling. And I mean, I'm doubled over. I'm sitting there convulsing and just cracking up. I'm just laughing my ass off. And I'm one of those people, if you to know me is to know that I like to think I have a good sense of humor. I really do try to find the humor in pretty much anything. but I'm not somebody who you really to get me to break like that is something that it's a sight to behold, because I don't normally break like that where I just start laughing out loud and tears coming down my streaming down my face. But that was one of those moments where I lost it. And then finally the chant started, and this had to have gone on for like a good 2 minutes, and I'm just sitting there, I'm just cackling like a banshee and just howling. And Mike is Mike is starting to laugh a little bit. He's kind of breaking a little bit just because I've lost it. And then the crowd dies down a little bit, and I start gaining my composure somewhat. And they started up, Joe Dirt, Joe Dirt, Joe, and I just lost it again. And I'm just sitting there, I'm leaning on Mike, just sitting there, just howling, and tears, and my face is beet red, and it was funny to me because I look behind me, and there's this one veteran wrestler named Cahagas. He's standing there, and then he's next to Brian Blair from the Killer Bees, and I kind of at that point I felt bad for Mike because he's stuck here sitting with this jackass who's losing his mind over somebody in the ring getting called Joe Dirt. I'm supposed to be a wrestler, so I'm not supposed to be cackling like this in front of everybody, but I didn't care. It was so funny. And then Brian said to me later, because I said, bro, did you hear any of that? Did you see me laughing at that? He's like, I saw you real red, but I didn't know what was going on. I was like, bro, that had to have been one of the funniest things. Absolutely one of the top 5 laughs I've ever had in the wrestling business. Which I guess in the future I'll share a couple others, but we're getting close to a half hour here, so I don't want to waste any more of your time. So yeah, that was pretty much, yeah, that's some wrestling news and notes and updates and fun stories, kind of some sad stuff and just stuff that's going on in the world of wrestling. So I figured I would share with you, just pop on here and do that real quick. But now I got to get ready to go to work, go shower up and everything, get out of this shirt here because I put it on and I forgot that that's a size large. So I kind of feel like I've dressed myself to go to the Baby Gap, but yeah, this thing's ridiculous. So the sleeves might have to come off of this, but I don't know. Anyhow, so that's neither here nor there. But yeah, man, that's what I got for you. Hope you enjoyed it. This is Dan from Moonshine talking. Hope you have a good one. See you soon. Catch you on the next video. And as always, stay sick, stay heavy, stay brutal. Always tuck your chin upon impact. Don't forget to breathe. Take it easy. Have a good one. Later.